Hi there, I'm Lucy. I am mum to Ramona, who's 14, and Juno, who's 12, and they've never been to school. I'm also founder of the Disco Unschooling course, a program that over the last 6 years has seen over 1,000 parents from all over the world come through, getting the support and resourcing they need to live a life without school that is confident, easeful, and joyful. Doors are currently open, and we begin next week, and I'd love you to join us. Okay, so today I wanted to bring a little bit of nuance to the conversation around unschooling is only for the privileged. That is because doors are open for disco, and I'm doing a lot of social media about unschooling. And every post at the moment, I'm getting someone in the comments saying unschooling is only for the privileged. And it's definitely a conversation that is a yes and conversation. So, sure, on one hand, when you go to unschooling spaces, they do lean towards being quite middle class and quite white. Marginalized communities are for sure underrepresented in the unschooling world. This is true. And that is because it's hard. Without school, you don't have access to the babysitting that school provides and the extra support, all of the extra support, like the things like the equipment, but also the extracurricular stuff, things like the community that you get. So you kind of have to go it alone as an unschooler, and you need internal and external resources to do that. So it does make sense that there's some truth in the fact that unschooling is for the privileged. However, I would say we have to be really careful with that statement because the truth is there are so many under-resourced and marginalized people who are choosing unschooling because that is what their heart is asking them to do, and they are moving mountains, and they are changing the narrative and breaking cycles in order to provide an unschooling life for their child. And I think when you say unschooling is only for the privileged, there's a lot of erasure in that. You're actually erasing the experience of Black and Indigenous parents who are having to work a lot harder to go against stereotypes and lack of resourcing in order to unschool. Even to say, you know, solo parents can't unschool because it is harder for sure, to me, it kind of undoes the massive effort that solo parents who are unschooling out there have put in order to unschool. So I think that's why we need this nuance. It's like, yeah, there is truth in that. And also, let's not erase the marginalized parents who have done everything they can in order to provide this life for their child. Another nuance is that a lot of people who are unschooling are almost not even doing it willfully. They're doing it because their child requires it of them. And it is, in a way, a privilege to have children who can go to school and survive it. There are actually thousands of kids all around the world who are literally unable to go to school because it's ableist or prejudice, or because it just is a matter of survival for them to stay away from that place. And their parents would love to be able to have a life and work and do things and bring money in, but they can't. They have to make unschooling work for themselves. And I think you would hear them saying that having kids who go to school happily is actually the privilege. And I think there is another final nuance in here. I mean, there's probably loads, and I would love to hear yours in the comments. It would be great to have a conversation about this. But the other one is that it is really common to have a standard of something that is great and it to only be accessible by a smallish portion of the population. So, take, for example, healthy food. It's just a great standard. Everybody should have access to healthy food. saying, oh, healthy food is just for the privileged, it is true, actually, because really healthy food is actually super expensive and tons of families cannot access it. But that doesn't mean that the families who can access it and are trying to make it possible for everybody, that they shouldn't do it because it's only for the privileged. I don't know if I'm explaining this quite right, but I would like to invite the people who are saying, oh, unschooling is only for the privileged, to consider that we're out here, the unschoolers, acknowledging that the education system really does not work for all children, that there are elements to the education system that are so toxic and so damaging to people, and we're out here trying to make educational choices possible for all kids. We are trying to make it normal to live without school so that it in the future can become more possible to other kids. Just like, we should all be able to say healthy food is for everybody and dry shelter is for everybody. We should be saying educational choice is for everybody. Everybody should be able to live without school if that's what suits their kids and if that's what suits their families, and not just kind of accusing the people who are living an unschooling life as being kind of like privileged and exclusive. You might get a different impression online, but if you were to speak to any unschooler, any unschooling parent, you would 1000% never hear them say parents who send their kids to school are stupid. You would never hear that. I would say every single unschooling parent recognizes that all parents are just trying their best and making the best choices for their family. And there's very little sentiment from unschoolers going, oh, everybody should unschool. I don't know why not everybody unschools. No one is out here doing this. We're all going, unschooling is amazing and really hard, really challenging. We totally understand why it wouldn't work for all families. We totally get that parents have to put their kids in school sometimes. It's just not a sentiment that happens in real life unschooling parents. I would say there is a big time vibe amongst unschooling parents that is just really trusting of other parents. And that is because we believe in unconditional positive regard, which is a way that we treat our kids. It's an unschooling principle that you look at your kids and you trust them. And if there is something strange going on or something you don't understand, it's because you don't have enough information. And because we work to apply unconditional positive regard to our children, we actually think that about most people. I might be being a little broad with that we, but I'm definitely talking about myself. The other unschooling creators I know out there, and also all of the unschooling parents that I know in real life, which is actually like hundreds because, we run camps. Um, and the sentiment is that because of this unconditional positive regard that we try and live within towards our children, we try and apply that to everybody out in the world, including school parents. So no one ever has to feel judged by an unschooling parent is honestly not happening. Not in my world, anyway. These are the kind of big conversations we have in disco. So if you would like tons of practical insights in how to live an unschooling life rooted in confidence, ease, and joy, but if you'd also like to do the deep internal piece about taking the school out of your body and out of your brain, we do that in disco. And there are 5 general open coaching conversations where we go deep into absolutely anything you bring to the table. Doors are currently open and we start at the weekend, so please do come and join us.